Hi, YouTube. I hope you're all doing good. I'm doing pretty good, not bad today. Um, I'm halfway through listening to Dr. Phil talking about the evil eight. It isn't actually a clinical term, but I've heard him describe this before. He's talking about, like I was yesterday, instincts and gut feelings and and what we can do about it when he's going to have you make a list of people in your life. And I'll finish listening to it, but I have heard him speak on this before. I did share it in my community. I'm going to share my favorite channel with you today is a man by the name of Robin Keys. His name of his channel is Robin's Hood. And the reason this is my favorite channel is because, well, sometimes if he's talking about he wasn't raised, like reading the scriptures like I was or anything, but when he does come to a conclusion and on his way there, for the most part, I feel a connection like on my learning level. I can understand him. I understand where he's coming from most of the time, and I find him not only highly entertaining for that reason, but also just because he's a really nice person. And I think you might get a kick or find a great amount of value in his channel. He also highlights other channels that come against Christians, like the head Luciferian gang stalker in the United States of America tried to take Robin down in a lot of ways. I mean, not just put him down, but is going as far as freaking threatening him that if they didn't talk on Zoom, the exact things this other person wrote to Robin was like, you'll talk to me or you're gonna see a train wreck, something to that extreme when Robin stopped answering the Stephen James Deshawn's text messages and Zoom calls and all that. I had talked to this person, Stephen James, on the phone, and the minute, and he knew that I have a letter of divorcement I gave to Doug, but just out of my pride and my self-preservation and my integrity, he said, well, we'll do a Zoom call because it didn't cost him minutes on his phone. I said, that's fine. Let's schedule it for Sunday. Let's make it like a family thing, and Doug can join in. Soon as I said that, he didn't want nothing to do with that. Then he was trying to ask people for money by doing their gematria numbers. And I tried to tell people the actual book of gematria is not online. The first and original book is handwritten and then typed out, and the Masons have that, and the Jesuits have that. Now, what is online includes all that, but it's been added to. The original is not an online thing. But anyway, so he wanted to get money from people doing this, and he said he was starving, so, and I didn't know a lot about him at the time. I only knew that I had offered to send him, I was going to send him some money and some food in the mail, like a care package. And I had limited funds, but I was going to give him about the last of my money, what I had, because I felt sorry for him. I told Doug, I'll get his address. And he did not want to give me his address. He wanted like me to go through like PayPal or something and send him cash. And I thought, Well, if you don't need food that I would send you, and I had some really cool stuff. I had these, in these cans, I had these cookies that are like a Danish cookie. They're a wafer on the outside and they're round and they have different flavors on the inside. And I mean, I was gonna send him some really cool stuff like homemade beef jerky and, you know, I even had like a winter's hat and a few. I was gonna send him a care package, like some shaving stuff, shampoo, whatever. A nice big box full of food and all the, but that wasn't good enough. So then I I started saying shit to him like you're a piece of shit just trying to get money from women and whatnot. Well, I don't feel that strongly against this person as far as I don't have any hatred for him and I hope that he can make a living for himself. I just believe at that time, and I am not afraid of any Luciferian. They can just go themselves. I don't care. They don't bother me. I was raised around Masons with their satanic crap. They don't bother me. They're just human beings going down the wrong path. But anyway, so I am going to put Robin's channel in the description and I hope you check it out. And you may not understand everything that's going on while he's talking in his video, but you'll catch on. I mean, what a lot of it is channels that we come across and people that we've come across. And if you do have like pretty good discernment of what the scriptures are, just instinct, you know, you'll know when somebody's trying to scam you. So yeah. But also, Robin's channel started out, well, he was making hoods for a Dodge Ram truck, and uh, by design was his. When he started his YouTube channel, it was for that reason. But the first video he put up was his boxer lab, his dog that just died, boxing on a bag, on a body bag. So um, it just pretty cool. Uh, but yeah, he, like I say, is a really nice person, and I think that you're gonna find some value, if not value as a human being, maybe just entertainment. But I'd like to see him be able to actually be able to spread the word of God because it just his kindness comes more natural to him than a lot of people. I see how I would have been if I had have been left alone and not tortured to death into having to defend myself. Not that he hasn't been, oh, excuse me, um, gone through bad things himself or anything, but I don't think, like, at least if he was alive before, maybe he went through what I'm going through, but at least this time around, I'm getting the blunt end of the stuff. But anyway, so like I say, I'm going to share that channel. And have you noticed how they're trying to really push like the alien thing and pretend like, oh, we've seen aliens, and like over on Facebook, this is our attitude. We don't care about the aliens. Show us Jeffrey Epstein's log list. I mean, we've seen this list before. Let's see some prosecutions going on with these people that have abused children, and listen to the children who are now adults that have came forward and testified to the fact that they were abused. Let's get this going. Let's stop sweeping it under the rug. because these are people and dignitaries from all over the world. Let's get after this stuff, you know? So give me a moment. Ooh, ooh, fire, fire. I'm going to go turn on my fan. Oh, hot, hot, hot. Oh, so yeah. Whew. I think it's going to be a warm one today. Wow, did it pour last night? It rained so hard. Our electric was out for about 2.5 hours, and Doug had gone to town, and I thought he might even have problems, you know, with the weather while he was driving. And it said that our next county over and us until 10:30 last night were under flood warnings. And I could see that that could have happened in some places. There's a bridge that where a river goes into a lake a couple miles away from me. Um, there's this one area, and there's lots of lakes and rivers, and they connect in Minnesota. But this one in particular by me um, has a tendency to flood over the road quite often. So, yeah, even our little road with our creek, the lake and the creek try and connect. I've seen the lake engulf a lot of our land, you know, just turn it into a lake, which would be fine with me. I would rather have more water than land because I'm not into farming, but I like to swim and fish. It's not easy to do in the wintertime, but yeah, because it's tropical today, but oh, we get so cold here, really cold. Some of the coldest places in the northern hemisphere. Not necessarily Minnesota, but the coldest, supposed to be the coldest place in the United States is Cut Bank, Alaska. But second to that, we have where we call, I think it's International Falls or someplace a little further north of me gets to be 50 and 60 below a lot in the wintertime. And that's, probably with a wind chill and whatever. But when it starts getting to be about 20 below, then you put a wind chill in there. I hate that it feels like with the wind chill, it feels like this or that. It's like, why don't you just tell us what the temperature is, not what it's going to feel like? I mean, why don't you make the feel like temperature what the temperature is, I don't know. But yeah, if it feels like freezing, I guess that's what it is. So I don't know. Um, because of the way the moon and the planets are lining up, just a minute, I'm going to tell you something. Right before a full moon, a new moon, which is coming up on I think it's the 3rd of August, um, we can have a tendency to be kind of spontaneous or uh, impulsive or reckless or forgetful. I mean, all kinds of things can happen because of the way the moon pulls with the planet and the sun and the other planets that are involved. It actually it's a clock that actually affects our bodies. And so just coming up here in the next week or so, just just be careful taking care of yourself as far as be aware of not no like try and think things through really well before you make any major decisions or that type of thing, or before you go to do something. Just really be aware of your surroundings and what's going on, or what we're saying. We have to be a little more thoughtful and careful that we, not that we're going to offend somebody, because you know what? I don't care if I offend somebody. I am, I used to be defense, but in a sense, when it comes to the Word of God and what I know is right and wrong for families all around this world, I'm offensive, and I'm not going to change. No, I won't. Don't worry, people. I'm not going to back down. Not ever. When I think of your little people and your your grandma or grandpa or your parents or whoever, when I think of people on this planet that I love, or potentially, um, I'm not backing down. I'm going to keep talking for that reason, you know. Plus, for the reason of my friends, that I know if you have God in your heart, you're probably lonely, you know, because there's not a lot of us. There's a lot of people that go to churches, but those are not those kind of people. They aren't. They just aren't. There might be a few here and there, but not really. I think you know what I mean, too. I'm convinced the true body of Christ doesn't dwell in the church. In fact, it says it in the scriptures too, that that Christ cannot be found in the church. Why don't they preach that? That only in these times Satan can be found in the church. You know, that's why God tells people, come out of Zion. It's the Zionist religions that keep pushing false doctrines, and that's what these people are believing in. Because I'm going to tell you, the truth is, anybody that teaches you that all your sins are forgiven just automatically, these types of things, that's not true. We have to repent from our wicked ways, and then we get absolved by God. We don't go to a preacher or a rabbi or any, it's between you and God. If you have the Christ Spirit and He goes before the Father, maybe there's times, maybe you're in great, great, great sorrow and you just cannot find the words to talk to God, or you've been so hurt that you just don't think that there's any kind of reprieve or any kind of answer. That's where the Christ Spirit comes in, because God knows your heart. That's your connection to Him. That's that noose. That's that area of Him not letting go of your hand. He's there. And, you know, that's your instinct. So He knows your heart. Is it a matter of faith? You know, what you believe? It sure is. You know? Yeah. Faith will do it every time. And, you know, there's also, is written wrongly, and now I'm going to say it out loud and it will be brought forth. Just watch this, how it works for the Christ Spirit, where it says, um, wait. I was going to say, ask and you will receive, seek and you'll find. It's not quite that. I was saying something about faith. Yes. It says, there's a part in the scriptures that says, if you believe in the Father, well, and words to that effect. Satan believes in the Father, so that's not going to save you. Faith is what saves. That's the grace of God. If that's, you know, and you'll hear people say grace to you or peace on you. That's basically. Do you see that? I don't know if you do. Maybe not. There's an ant crawling across my computer. Maybe I got it. That was, it didn't go in front of the camera, so maybe oh, I did get it. Okay, sorry, Aunt. But, so, yeah, it's not just believing that there is a God, it's having faith. And that, I don't ever lose my faith. I do get disgruntled, I get crabby. Um, it's not, I don't lose it. Sometimes I lack it. That's where I come up lacking, because some days it's hard for me to believe that he's orchestrated everything and that I'm going to be okay. I get my sad days. I have bad depression some days that I work through, but that's where I fall short sometimes. It's like, trusting that everything's going to be okay for me sometimes isn't the easiest thing. I don't think it is for any of us. That's why I'm talking about it, because it's true. You know, I fall short in them areas, and I ask God just to, keep me strong every day, because, yeah, we all have our weaknesses one way or another, things we gotta work on. I wouldn't call it, like some people are, like shadow work. That's some dark, dark stuff. Um, I had gone through in my teenage years, so yeah. And I'm glad, because then I was prepared when I got to be a parent. So, and some people don't work on those dark issues within themselves ever. They never do, because it seems to be beneath them to even recognize that there's something that they're lacking, that they have to ask God to help them with, you know. Well, I'm not. I can humble myself before my Father, you know, and that, it used to be when I was a kid, I was taught, and this got me in trouble as far as getting me hurt, to respect my elders. That, in general, is a good rule of thumb, but it's just like one of my granddaughters got annihilated by an animal, an older animal. Sometimes respecting your elders or doing what these people say isn't the best thing to do. But in general, I would say, yeah, it's a good rule of thumb. But this world has really gotten weird with a lot of chemical use and, drugs and whatever, drinking. Actually, from my observation, I mean, you get like a heroin addict, they're out of it. You know, they shoot up or whatever they do, which I have never shot up in my life, but they do these things and they're like totally out of it. They're gone. So they're not a great big threat. They're not violent or anything, but I have yet to see a person not get high on alcohol, and then when they're coming down, their blood sugar falters and they either need to have another drink or something to eat right there, or something to eat while you're having your drink so you don't spike your blood sugar. That's typical in everybody. But the animalistic nature of what comes out of drinking too much alcohol is, nobody's really safe from it. I mean, I'm not saying you can't drink and not be personable or whatever, like in my younger days, I could sit and drink like 2 cases of beer in a couple days, stay up all night long and just giant party and not a problem. And then go cook like a 5-course meal and have a nice day. So it's not that it's not possible to drink mass quantities of alcohol. Or I would drink hard liquor and it wouldn't really even bother me because I was young and I could deal with it. But I don't know, and then there's some people who could have like one drink and they turn into an animal. And I've seen it. So it does affect people different, and that might even have to do with what did they eat or what have they been eating, what does their diet consist of, you know, along with that alcohol. Like, okay, if you had an abusive husband and he was drinking, what do you think would be a better choice to give him to eat? A grilled cheese sandwich and tomato soup or a, a medium rare steak? You see what I mean? Or um, a, salad and pasta or a medium rare steak. you know, I don't know. I think you get my point. You know, I like steak. Very well done. Maybe not absolutely just dry, but almost. Um, I just, that's one thing. My ex-father-in-law, the uh, natural grandfather of my sons, that's one thing him and I had in common. If we'd be barbecuing, everybody else would be eating their steaks almost raw. It was still like mooing, and we would just stand around the grill and keep cooking ours until it was like about the color of my hair. I'd be like, okay, it's done now. So, yeah. Yeah, I cannot stand bloody meat. There's nothing grosser. If I go out to eat and I had ordered something, like if I had like a baked potato on my plate and maybe a dinner roll and a steak or whatever, if that steak is bleeding out on my potato and everything else, I will barely even eat it. I have sent it back, but I started getting to where I would barely even go out to eat because I was a far better cook than anything I'd ever go and have. So why do it, aside from the luxury of having somebody else cook for me? But besides that, you know, it still isn't the best thing. Yeah, if you're a good cook, it's hard to find somebody that will do a better job. Here, but I was just surprised. I had gone out to visit my oldest son and his wife and the children. Um, Drove oh, about 1,100 miles, something like that. So I get there and I fasted the first couple days because I was fasting. I fast all day long, every day. I eat once a day. So, like the other day when I had 2 cheese sandwiches and nuts, that's all I ate all day. That's that's just what I do. But I hadn't eaten for a couple days on the way out there, and I wanted to be in a fasting frame of mind um, to actually be able to talk to my son in a real spiritual level. And that's why. Well, anyway, I got out there. The first meal that I had there, my daughter-in-law had made a chicken noodle soup, and my son said, "It tastes like yours, Mom." And I thought, yeah, okay, sure. And it did. I was really surprised. It's like, you are a good cook. Rarely will I have somebody cook for me, and I super enjoyed that chicken noodle soup. That was awesome. What a good thing to come off of fast with very little meat but veggies broth, and it was amazing. So yeah, it was a nice trip. I went in the spring. I went in April, and sometimes summer will come early in the west and northwest. I live in Minnesota, so I just kind of traveled across the northwest to go out there and got into some higher mountains, the Belt Mountains that I used to live around. And I got up into the Belt Mountains, part of the Rocky Mountains, about 6,000 feet, and it started snowing on me. And I did want to take some recordings of the land around there. It's so wide open. If people in the world saw all that, they wouldn't even be talking about overpopulation. If you saw the Northwest and the Midwest and everything, you would tell these creatures who spew that crap where to go. You'd tell them to go fly a kite. That's a fact. But anyway, so I got up on this great expanse. Started snowing on me. And then I had this Solaris or Solus uh, portable router that was supposed to give me internet service on the top of the mountain or wherever because of its capabilities, and it didn't work. So once I got out there, I just went and got another phone that had internet service. But uh, there was some troubles with my kid, and I ended up cutting my visit short because of that. So, quite frankly, he really didn't want his wife and I talking uh, about his issues in his life, and he tried to keep us separated for a very long time because of all that. But, and it really wouldn't have been that big a deal if he ever had realized the love in our hearts that both of us still do have for him, and always will. It's just that he has some issues, and a lot of it has to do with substance abuse. I don't know. Some people don't understand they have issues they have to work on. Or even if they do, they're struggling and they can't help themselves. So, yeah. Yeah, that's where I put it in God's hands. I can't do any more. But, yeah. But that was a really beautiful trip. I enjoyed it. I got lost on the way home. I left at night, which I shouldn't have done. But I started feeling like I was in some sense of danger in different ways, and it was hard to explain. Uh, but I got lost, and I was up on this Indian reservation up by Canada by the time I got done, and then I got lost in the oil fields coming back. Luckily, my car had a I couldn't get any cell service, but I had a compass in my car, so at least I could get on the right track. And I thought, well, geez, if I just head down, I was in North Dakota then, and I just head south from there, I'm going to hit one of the big highways or an interstate or whatever. But if I had broke down out there, you may not even see a car for days. That's not a joke, you know. But it was really funny. I had stopped in this one gas station and I met this woman. God, she looked familiar to me, and I looked familiar to her. It was called the White Earth Indian Reservation. And the thing about it, I wish I could have got a picture of that land too. The wild sage makes the whole country look white, but what it is wild sage. Like you'll see these sweetgrass sage that you burn. incense, that type of braided. That's what that's made out of. But it's very beautiful, but I just didn't have the means to record anything. But anyway, so this woman said hi to me, and I'm in a real dangerous place. If you don't have some pigment in your skin and you walk in there, you might not walk out in the middle of the night in one piece, or your car might not be the same. This, I'm just talking real. But anyway, so this woman said, "Hi, how are you?" I'm like, "I'm great. How are you doing?" Now, keep in mind, I've been just like driving all night, probably about 3 in the morning, about 10 or something. I have no clue who this woman is. And, but she looked familiar to me, so it was really weird though. Um, I don't know, can't remember if she told me her name or if I told her mine. I can't remember right now, but it was just weird. Maybe we were just somebody that looked like somebody. But I don't think so. Even thinking back of it, I was at a powwow when I was a kid. This was before they told me I had Native in me, but my parents knew. And my dad had a cousin that had married a Native American princess. And he was a mayor of this town. So anyway, so I went to this powwow, and they were bringing me into the community as an adult. I was 12 years old, and they gave me a Native American name, Kiko Pashata. So Kikopashata. That's my native name, and it means to make things grow, not just on the earth and like the foliage, but people. That's who they honored me as, and that's my spirit inside, and that's who I am. So my name is Keith for sure. So anyway, she might have been there, maybe, and if she had been, she was younger than me. She like 10 years. She would no, she would have been about 2. I don't know. I don't know. But or maybe she ran across me. I worked at a casino. She might have ran across me like there or somewhere too. Maybe in some Native American community, even on a different reservations, people that I knew that I go visit them on the res or whatever. Maybe one of them situations. I don't know. But it was really weird. And I was a little unnerved even going in their gas station, but I had to, because I think it was like another probably at least 300-400 miles till somewhere. I don't know, getting somewhere. I had AAA too, but I didn't have a phone to call, and there wasn't anything wrong with my vehicle. I was tired. There was something wrong with my mind and my heart. Yeah. It was hard for me to leave them early, but really my son was acting flipping whacked, you know, so hard to describe. Well, he was baiting me too, and I knew he was because I don't know what he was saying to his wife on the inside of the house, but I was outside. I'd take my little dog out and take her for a walk, and he came out and he said to me, now I was not even talking about Doug, but I was talking about his dad, but I told him not only for the sake of you and John, but his name is Luke. So not for just the sake of Luke and John, but for everybody concerned, I had to make that decision to make a separation because I was having thoughts of taking this person's life because he was that violent. And I eventually did have to battle to get him out of my life physically. And this is a really big, strong, skilled person. I'll just leave person instead of what I really want to say. And so when I said that and we were talking, I don't know what he said to make me say that, but then he said to me that sometimes he felt that way about Christy. That was weird. And then I changed the subject, or he did, I can't remember, but it was just the weirdest thing. It was like he was baiting me into trying to say something about Christy so he could go back in and put a rift in between the two of us. So I don't know, it was just the weirdest shit, and I felt like I just needed to get away from it. So, and I was going to spend 2 weeks, but I actually could have stayed for as long as I had wanted to, and I was going to get a motel room, but I was told I didn't need to do that. So then I had called them and I told them when I was leaving. I had a date. The date my router was going to be hooked up was the day I was going to take off. And they knew that. And then I get out there and he acted like he wasn't ready for me to be there. He had just ordered this new desk for in his room that he could sit and watch his porn or his little boys dressed up like girls or whatever freakish thing he was into at the time. And so, but he acted like I had sort of inconvenienced him by being there when I said I was going to be there. So it was just strange. So, anyway, yes, and back to the point where no, not all mothers make their little boys narcissists. Sometimes when their fathers diddle their little boys and they all watch porn together after they lie to the courts and have custody. And it was joint. I was supposed to be able to communicate with my sons, and I was totally annihilated in this whole thing. So they take my kids, him and his new wife, who had money, and that's the only reason they got him because they had actually looked into his background, and I had some solid evidence on like lying to the government and blah blah this that and then I'm not kidding. I had such even a chief of police that this monster had beat up that was scared to death to come forward on my behalf for my sons, a relative of my sons in this thing would not come forward to help me with my children. It was a effing nightmare. But in the end, my kids did come back because they couldn't handle them, you know? But anyway, so no, it's not always a good mother that loves her children and keeps them clean, mind, sound, and body and tries to raise them to stand up and work hard and go off on their own. A narcissist mother would not want their son to go off on their own unless she hates men or whatever, that type I could see. I've seen something kind of like that, but no, a father that is abusive can also turn their sons narcissistic. And I know that from generations out of an incestuous family that did that on purpose. So there is a doctor out here that is sort of like mother blaming and shaming, and that might be his experience. because like my adopted mother and my adopted brother, they act like husband and wife. And I've seen that with Doug's mom and his oldest brother. They're like freaking, they were like two peas in a pod, you know, more like their spouse than the mother child relationship it should have been, you know. So I know for a fact that there's separations on different ways that people can become narcissistic. So it's not just one, like the mom or the dad or whatever. And it could be combinations, but I'm not going to take fault for where there was none, you know, being a healthy parent and being accused of not being a healthy parent and having my virtues questioned like that. I'm out to prove that that's nonsense. So just a word to the wise, you know, careful where you tread. And you might want to retrace your steps a little bit for righteous women. Just think on that before I think about a full-on slot. Just think about it. I'm asking, because I'm not going to tolerate it. Fact. One day I'm going to have one of my kids sitting here and I'm going to make them tell you the truth right to this camera, to everybody's face, and they're going to tell you exactly how and why a man child can become a narcissist without the mother's um, the mother being blamed for that outcome. That's a fact. You'll hear it. I know the grace of God's going to help me in this one. Prove this out one way or another. Like I said, what happened in your life could be entirely different than what happened in my children's life, you know. So, and any mother that would look at her child wrong or treat them like they're the man of the house or whatever. And that, see, now here's something that was told to my oldest son, and I said, "Oh no, you don't say that to my son." He, my ex told his oldest son, "You're the man of the house while I'm gone." We owned a drywall business. Well, I did. It was in my name because the thing couldn't get anything in his name because he's a delinquent that had to suck off another woman to make a name for himself. That is his style. So anyway, sucker told my kid this, you know. I said, "You don't say that to a little boy. You don't," and I tried to get it out of his head, you know. And then he tried to boss me and his little brother around. It's like, do you see what I'm saying? This is not anything I did. This was an intentional attack on my children to get to me through my children because I have God in my heart. And they knew I was going to be a strong voice out here. That's why. So, and I will find some kind of justification on this whole thing. God will be my vengeance, and I'll help prove this out. That there could be other mothers that are being accused in this way from doctors that have become narcissists because of the way their mothers were. Well, your mother was a piece of shit, and not every woman is like that. And still gives us no excuse what we were taught in our childhood to carry delinquent actions into our adult life. You know, that's when human beings, adults, regardless of mental restrictions, can relearn, re educate yourself. If you have the ability to read and think, you're already ahead of the game in the psychological department, you know? And if, like me, you started studying psychology when you were a little kid, because this is part of the Masonic, they had books on how to raise adopted children and with like Masonic constraints, I would call it. And then, I mean, if you even consider Freud, an actual psychiatrist, I guess, in a sense, but I think looking at things in a Freudian way sometimes isn't always what it is, and it could be more physical. And two, uh, I found out my kids were getting beat with sticks when I had come home from work. I'm taking a shower. This jerk takes my kids out into the woods and makes them pick their own stick off a tree that he beat them with. And they didn't even say anything because they were afraid. I had some really funky things happen to my children that I didn't even know. Like taking my kids to a park, they would have them walk, he would have them walk up to a woman and start talking to them, and my ex would take their purse. And my children were involved in these things. When I did find out, yeah, I made a big separation. First of his part of his leg, and then the whole thing. I threw him down the steps and the car keys after him. I put knives in the doors. This was after I broke his leg. First I kicked him in the sink backwards with a roundhouse, and I just kept attacking frontal kicks. Kicked him backwards into the sink, and then I grabbed his throat and I said, "You're going to stop fucking with us." And after he fell asleep, I made the decision, and I was thinking of killing him to just get him out of there. So I injured his leg and threw him out with his suitcases. And I said, "Take what you want right now because you're not getting back in." So that's how a mother handles things for her children. I'm just saying. There might have been another way to go about it, but I had tried, I had exhausted every other way. The typical means that were masonically turned against me, like police or counseling or whatever. None of this was, there was nobody, no family, nobody that gave a shit. So I was on my own in a dangerous situation with my children. So, yeah, there's other ways to have a narcissistic child. It's not always the neglect from a mother. You couldn't get any more hardworking than me, doing drywall on the weekends and working at school during the week and taking care of my children and my house, taking my children to work with me on the weekends. No, you don't get any more hardworking or any more concerned about your children than getting up in the morning and reading to them out of a well, I don't know if you know who Paul Harvey is, but that's pretty deep to be reading to your children. But yeah, I did before they go to school. I did a lot of things that a lot of parents never would have taught their children, you know, a lot of things. Fishing, um, gardening, everything, you name it. So no, there was no neglect from me at all, ever. I wouldn't even get my children a babysitter unless I was forced into it. And that was really hard for me to do. But yeah, the only abuse my children suffered was at the hands of their relatives. So I just wanted the person that's a doctor that had an abusive mother to understand that there are other ways that men become narcissists besides the mother. And I will have one of my sons here someday telling you exactly that. I believe that. One of them. Maybe not here, maybe in another house. Maybe not right away. Or maybe not. But maybe other people will come forward who have really studied this. And I'm not trying to shame anybody. I am not trying. That's why I haven't named your name, Doc. You know, I am not trying to alienate you. I like you. You actually remind me of my oldest son like that. So um, that's why I'm talking about it. And people are connected. So, but there was something else I was going to say on that. Um, that is why I'm taking the time to talk about it. It's for everybody's hearts concerned, not just mine or my kids or my grandchildren who are affected by it too, because I have three of them. That's their dad I'm talking about, you know, but also for the doctor that has gone through these traumas that I recognize. And look, man, I love you. I can see that you have love in your heart that you're terrified to show people. I don't blame you. I really don't. You know, maybe someday, and I've already prayed that you can find a good friend, somebody you can trust. That's a major, major thing on this planet. So, so maybe someday I can say, "What's up, Doc?" And you'll say, "Hey, doing great, thank you." You know, that's my hope. So I'm not getting all mad about it because, like a few years ago, I ran across this same person and I heard this stuff. And even the same sex attraction and whatever. That's not what bothers me unless it's with children, then we got a major problem. But I no, that has nothing to do with it because we can like each other regardless for different reasons, you know. So that really wasn't even the issue. It was the mother thing because I am a good mom and I'm not gonna be um, uh, dismissed when my virtues are under attack, you know. So, no, I'm not going to tolerate that. And I will find a way to prove this different for the psychological medical community, you know. It's important because other than that, um, men that don't have mothers that are responsible for that, and it could even be head injuries and other traumas. And that part too, I'm very convinced with men and women. But I do believe that there's so many varying different reasons why, and some of it could be genetics, you know. Uh, Getting a little distracted, but I'll get back on track, or else I'll talk about something else here in a minute. But okay, well, anyway, um, Doug was out moving things around with the tractor, and then he came in. I think he's getting some cold water. It's getting pretty warm out there, so yeah, hot to be working out in the sun. Yeah. Heat stroke's a real thing. Well, I got really bad when I was a little kid. They took me to the emergency room. Yeah. I didn't really have a lot of hair, and it was pretty light, and I should have had like a sun hat on or something, you know, just not even 2 years old yet. So out in the sun, it was really weird. There's a picture of the day that it happened. My mom and my brother are sitting in the shade, and they have me sitting on the edge of the blanket out in the sun, and that's the day. They have a picture of the day they almost killed me. One of the days. Excuse me a minute. It'll be okay. About probably 2 minutes. Cheers. Cold coffee. Okay, just about. How many people do you have in your life that are, I mean, some people believe that narcissists aren't dangerous. Maybe some aren't in a physical manner. Impulsiveness is a dangerous thing to be around, and it can pose a lot of problems. It's not always the physical danger from somebody that has, excuse me, some kind of psychopathy, but the impulsive behaviors that can damage them, harm them, and other people around them because they don't think things out before they do them. But I'm here to tell you that I know for a fact that not only are narcissists very dangerous, they are the personification of evil. Now, I'm not saying you are evil if you're a narcissist. It is personified through your dark triad or tetrad, adding sadism, which is the new thing on our measure. Yeah, what does sadism entail? Are all narcissists schizophrenic? I would say probably not. Are all narcissists uh, borderline? No, but some of them are, you know, varying degrees. So I don't know. Like I say, I don't have my doctrine, but I sure can talk to you on that level because I don't care to go get it. I'm not going to practice um, trying to heal anybody, but I can counsel you. And I am a trained counselor and a minister. And I hope that means something that I had taken the time to actually study what I'm talking about and know the differences of those things so I can make an informed decision before I open my mouth, you know? And yeah, anyway, I don't need to blow my own horn. I know what I'm talking about, and you know I know. So that's there's that. Now here's one. How many men that have been labeled narcissistic do not want to blame their fathers because their fathers are similar. Just a minute. I'm making a video. Okay, that's okay. What? Okay, cool. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to let him talk because he knows at this point this is rude. So, pardon me. But and it seemed to be at a critical moment right there when I was saying how many of you men that are narcissistic or have some of those traits that you learned from your father and you don't want to blame your father, or you admire what that is. It could be even seen as a certain amount of strength, because if you have lack of compassion, or maybe you don't, I'm just saying if, and you're in a position of power, or you have the ability to um, have a say in somebody else's life, and those strengths can give you the upper hand as far as not getting too emotionally connected with the people that you're working with, well, that might work. That might work for you. That doesn't work too good for me, because I think one of our base things that we do in people's life is to actually have that connection and see ourselves in other people to make a connection like that. Or maybe you see the disconnection and you're able to work through that disconnection. I don't know. So Doug was just saying he went through the woods, and we have 16 feet of our property on the north side that they tried to take from us, and we told them, you put your fence on the wrong place, because I mean, this is a spot that has some pretty ancient oak trees on it, but it shouldn't matter anyway, and we have a natural spring back in the woods there too, more water, and another part of a pond, and more woods, and it belongs to us, and so we were just, and it doesn't matter because, like we told them, well, they didn't want to go to court, and we had to fight with our other neighbors about it too. It's like we had it surveyed. We have electronic magnets in the ground that there are designated property lines are magnetically generated, and we could just GPS pull it up and show it to them. But we're just actually clearing out where it is. Even the pasture I had for my horse, um, I put the fence line. I didn't go into the woods because it was some really bad brambles and stuff, but, or I should say Doug did that part of it, but we stayed this side of the bad deep darkness of those woods, but he used the tractor to get up in there now and was able to find where the marker is. So just to let them know, because they were trying to put some stupid golf course on our property, and they were coming down, like the last couple years they were coming down and throwing their shit in our yard. And I mean, I didn't care too bad, but when my horse was still alive, when they first moved in, this dude comes walking out of the woods, scared the living daylights out of my horse, and she ran through some wire. That pissed me off. Then he didn't even take the time to see if she was okay, or if he could help me fix what was busted up. So yeah, they're just rude. They let their dogs run it all over unsupervised, and they're just some city people that moved out into the country that should have stayed in the city. That's my opinion there. But anyway. So anyway, back to my question, please be honest. Uh, how many of you have fathers that you admired as a strength that probably was deemed as narcissistic, and you took those traits upon yourself? Now the world deems you as a narcissist, but it was a trait you learned from your beloved father that you don't even want to talk about. That was the structure of the whole family. You don't think that made your mom tired? I know mothers that are bedridden, that have abusive husbands, and how are they supposed to help their children when the leader of the family isn't doing the job he's supposed to be doing? Come on now, let's all be honest here. Lucky I'm strong, but I've seen women that weren't as strong as me. Then what? Answer me, please. Just being truthful. Let's do that. Repeat after me. What's my motto? Can't hear you. You'd rather die than lie? That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay, get with the program then. Let's hear that. I don't care how you restructure it, and I don't care what book you wrote that has something of the contrary in there that is a part truth. You need to reconstruct that with the whole picture in there now, not just part of it. The whole family structure, even into what the grandparents were and that reflection upon your parents. It's a whole scenario, you know? And it's really important because when hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands of people are hearing something that is based on a part truth, for you it may be true, but not for everybody. Do you see where I'm coming from? So how can we go into this and help other people that go under a different scenario have the same outcome? You know, it's like two different ways to do division. You have the long handed way, and then you have the decimal way. But both are accurate with the remainder of. And I know you old timers know just what I'm talking about. There's two different ways to come to the same conclusion. That's what I'm talking about. This is a real thing. Just like I know a rabbi that doesn't believe in the Talmudic Noahide laws. Um, how does he go about helping his people rise above the rape of innocent children? How does he help form a structure within his community that's going to help his people rise above and ascend to the Father? That's our ultimate goal. So I'm also trying, that's another one of my projects with the grace of God that I'm trying to help with another person. It's like there's some major things going on in this world with the psychology of human beings um, concerning their souls that we need to work on together. We need to do these things together. I can't do it by myself. I might be aware of something, but if I don't have somebody of substance out there, I can think the thought all I want all day, but without your help, it stays there. I hope you see what I'm saying. So this is out of no malice or no trying to clear my name. That God's going to help me with. I will prove that to you. So let's just put that on the back burner for now. But just consider all my words and what I just told you as true without trying to read anything from your life into it. Just try to put yourself in my shoes or even in the shoes of one of my sons if you're a man, and then go from there, and maybe we can reconstruct the psychology business a little bit for people and actually help and reach more people on that level. That's what I'm hoping for. Okay, I'm going to let you go. I really, really appreciate you joining me. I really can't express how grateful I am for the people that are into the type of things that I'm talking about and the concerns in the world and love for other people. And check out Robin's channel. I think you'll enjoy him as a human being. I hope you do. I hope my instincts aren't off, like thinking that there's other people that are listening to me that also wouldn't think, wow, I would like to be this person's friend. You know, that's um, that's an important thing. There's not a lot of us that actually like to think on a little deeper level and have a little deeper concern for others than what is a real ego-driven world that we live in that really lacks humility, you know? Yeah, because they all made themselves. They're the great creator and provider. Not. Okay, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA. Have a good night or day, wherever you're at.